Hello, I want to welcome you to this in conversation with one of our amazing graduates, Sienna Espie. Sienna, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm really excited to have you here because what you've done in terms of bringing your love of fashion and then the world of social media together has been incredible to watch your success since you started with us, I think back in 2020 from memory, which we were saying before we officially recorded this, how time flies. I'm curious as to what made you want to get into fashion to begin with.
I have always loved fashion. I definitely think it's been a way for me to express myself. And like many people, I feel like over the years and looking back on how I used to dress and express myself through fashion, it's evolved and changed so much as I've grown as a person, which I really love. I love that there's no rules with it either. It's an expression of yourself, and you are ultimately in charge of how you want to express yourself through that. So yeah, I think it's just an amazing creative outlet. I've always been a very creative person, so it's just always been a real passion. Yeah.
I love that. And I think what you've said there about there's no rules is really key. And we're exploring that more and more. I think especially after the last couple of years and everything that's happened, people are really looking to step away from traditional like dressing and try new things. I'm curious then how you got into your role now, which is more around that content creator sort of piece and how you got your start in that.
Yeah, so I did have a vision that I wanted to work within the fashion industry. And I did start very organically working with a few brands on contra deals through Instagram. And that was kind of my first step of, fueling that creativity on social media. And then, I continued developing my skill set and my personal style, and it really just grew from there. I aligned myself with brands that I felt resembled my values and my personal style. And yeah, it's just continued into what it is now.
So do you remember your first post out of curiosity?
My first post on Instagram, definitely not, but I actually remember the first brand that did reach out to me to send me Contra, which is a non-paid collaboration. They're sending you product as a form of a gift. And I remember, oh my goodness, it was so long ago, maybe like 2016.
Wow.
2017. Yeah. And I was so excited. I got my mum to take the photos for me, and I styled the whole outfit, and it was really exciting. And that was definitely my first taste of, wow, okay, this is actually a thing. And it's definitely grown so much from there. And I've obviously learned a lot, but yeah, it just started really organically. A lot of contra deals, a lot of unpaid work at the start. It was a big hobby for a while as well. It didn't at all jump straight into work. It was definitely a hobby for a really long time.
Yeah. And this is what you're doing full time now, isn't it?
Yeah, I am doing this full time. I've been doing it full time for maybe 8 months, 7 months, but I'm absolutely loving it. Definitely.
What were you doing before this? Can I ask?
Yeah. So all throughout high school, I just had a restaurant waitress job. And then when I was starting the Australian Style Institute course, I'd actually just started working for a e-commerce brand in Melbourne. And that was also another stepping stone into the fashion industry. I was seeing photo shoots happen, and it was also amazing to be doing the course at the same time because I was learning both from so much. I was in the classroom getting so much knowledge and resources. And then also I was on set photo shoots, fortnightly, seeing it happen with my own eyes. So I was there, I was kind of doing a whole lot of different things. I was content creator for their social media. I was styling with the owner on set. So I was getting a taste of that for the first time as well. And also doing a little bit of outreach. So I was seeing the influencer side from the other side to what I am now. I was reaching out to influencers to work with the brand. So that gave me a really good insight to so many different avenues of a fashion label as well. Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful segue as well. And it sounds like it's really lended itself to your success to where you are now. I guess
definitely.
if there's any sort of key parts of the course that you did with us that have really transitioned into what you're doing now, is there anything that comes to mind?
I think one of the biggest things as well is being in the classroom and the environment around yourself and so many other inspiring stylists and creatives, and also everyone there. It was such an uplifting and inspiring community that, like, going inside that classroom really did inspire me to want to be in the industry even more. And I think a little bit before that as well, I loved fashion. I loved styling, but I didn't exactly know where I fit almost. But being around so many different people, styling the photo shoots, it really did just like give me a push to be like, wow, this is what I want to do. And I feel like so many other people in the classroom had that spark as well. You could see it, which was really special. But also just there were so many resources that I've lent on even now post course that you can refer back to. And I think that's an amazing thing about the Australian Style Institute is how you don't finish the course and the resources are cut off from you. There's still a community there. You can still always reference back. And yeah, I've done that plenty of times. I think it's also just added a level of professionalism. For example, even the loan hire agreement that I got from one of the resources, I'm still sending that out to brands constantly. You know, if I want to loan a particular design item for when I'm styling another brand's look. And I've been told so many times, you know, like, this is great. We haven't really had many people send us a full loan hire agreement, even if they don't use it. It's just adding that level of professionalism that I think makes you stand out and is important to have.
Yeah, I think something that comes to mind with that as well is that brand integrity and that love of wanting to respect the garments that you're working with. And I know this is something that, for example, Bianca Rose, our editorial trainer, and Javelle have often shared as well, which is, you know, there's been moments where they've gone to lend from a brand that they've lent from before, but all of a sudden they've stopped loaning because of the fact that those brands are getting garments that are returned damaged or not dry cleaned or not sellable or being able to be used in future content. And I think something that really shows as well with that level of professionalism is the care that we have for the other people in the industry. And I love that you're still using that as a resource. I think that's beautiful.
No, it's great.
With that, and I guess the brands that you work with, how do you determine which ones are the right fit for you and then your brand as an individual?
I think a lot of it comes down to what that brand stands for and if that aligns with my personal brand and my vision. I really love to stay as true to that as possible. And as much as possible, I try and make a conscious effort to work with brands that are practicing slow fashion, you know, ethically made, ethically sourced. I think that's really important. And I guess as you go, you learn more and more about what brands are. And of course, you can do your own research. But yeah, and I also love working with brands that, you know, have an interesting story or have a unique point of difference. I love working with brands, you know, brands that I've been working with long term or new brands that I find, small businesses, something that just stands out to me, whether it's, you know, they're ahead of the curve with what they're designing and not following trends. A couple of brands that I will always continue to work with, Significant Other and Akla.
Yeah.
I just always find their designs really unique. They're not, you know, copying what everyone else is doing, and interesting photo shoots, and just really stands out to me. Yeah, that's a few things.
I guess if someone was to look at your social media accounts as well, whether that's on TikTok or Instagram, you know, they see all these beautiful, like polished and put together video content and imagery. Can you share with me a little bit about what happens behind the scenes of that? Like, is it a hot mess on the other side of the camera, or are you someone who is pretty organized and sort of has a, you know, what's your creative process to generating the content?
I think now that I do this full time, I have a lot more time to plan and make sure that try and much as possible make sure I'm not a hot mess, but definitely sometimes it's a little bit chaotic. It's funny when you see the finished product or even some photos, you're like, wow, what a stunning backdrop. But little do you know, it's a car park and there's craziness going on either side of me. But I think that's just about making it work with what you can find. But yeah, creative process. I love when I do have time to plan when I get a brief, but that's not always the case. I try and, I have a content room here where I lay out all my accessories. I go through the styling process, figuring out what I would love to pair with each look to make sure I'm enhancing and highlighting what I'm showcasing.
Yep.
Say if it's a dress, I want to use accessories that are going to really, draw the eye to it and make it exciting. And then I also do have a lot of inspiration saved when it comes to locations, editing, different transitions. I kind of feel like now I have it all stored in my mind. I'm always kind of picking up things and getting inspired from everywhere. So yeah, I do really like to plan and have a good idea before I go and shoot. I find that's the best way to get as much content as I'm after, is planning. I do think it's important to have an idea of what you would like to create before you go.
Are you filming it sort of on a tripod, or you've got someone there to sort of help film all of that? Or
it's really different each time. I have recently invested into a good Sony camera, which has honestly changed the game for me. The quality of it is incredible. So it was a really great decision for me and my business and my personal brand to do that. Obviously, I couldn't do that straight away, but it was worth the investment. And then I also got some new lenses, and I'm yet to try it, but I have got a gimbal stabilizer for when I'm filming. And my partner helps me film that, which is really great. But sometimes there's, chances where I will just have to get my iPhone and put it on the tripod and do it like that. Other times I'm working with other content creators, which is really nice, and we're helping each other shoot content, which is also really good as well, meeting lots of girls through that and bouncing creative ideas off each other.
yeah, I think that networking is really important. You just never know where future opportunities come when you get to meet those other people as well.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you find the editing process?
I personally really like editing. I actually think that's a part of content creation that I really love. I did a Premiere Pro course the end of last year, which again, I think it's really important to invest into your skill set. I think that's a really big part of what will set you apart from everyone else, as it is a really saturated, workspace, content creation. So when you can upskill and invest into your skill set, I think it's really important and amazing. So the Premiere Pro editing has helped me to be able to do a lot of really engaging and interesting transitions. It definitely takes time to learn it, but yeah, I do really love it. It can be a lengthy process, but I think, good editing is a really good skill to have.
I remember when I got started in fashion, and Instagram was still relatively new, and it was okay back then to take a photo that was kind of pixelated, and you'd over filter, or you'd do like those cute little backgrounds or screens on them and things like that. And I look at content now, and it's come so far, and I'm curious to know, where do you see the future of content creation going?
I think there's two parts to that. So firstly, I think authenticity. And as I'm sure you've seen, there's been such like a trending movement to being more authentic. And I think it's important to develop and find out ways to be more authentic through your content. Engaging with your audience and having a sense of your audience having trust in you, I think, is a really great way to show genuine authenticity. But that plays back to working with brands that you do feel like align with you, not just, saying yes to a brand because they're wanting to, work with you. It's staying true to yourself. And that's what I think will really build authenticity. And then number two is quality. And like I said before, with upskilling and working on your craft, I think the people that are going to really excel over the next 6 to 12 months are people that are doing that, working on themselves, going out and finding as much knowledge as they can. I've done a lot of research into what's working, and, it's always changing, but I think as long as you're just trying your best and forever evolving, that's really important as well. I think you need a good balance and breadth of different styles. It's really, easy these days to pick up your phone and start filming. TikTok is really big for authenticity, but I think when you have, a breadth of skills and different editing skills, it can be really engaging. And I think that's what's going to attract the right opportunities and right brands as well. Yeah. Investing into also, your confidence, your speaking, your grammar. I feel like there's so many different things that can all add to the success of content creation. And I feel like the Australian Style Institute also teaches you so many different things like that, with confidence and getting up and, sharing and, just being in that kind of environment. It all adds up and all helps.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the difference as well between people who have a bit more of that fashion background in content creation versus, they've just got a really great wardrobe themselves. And what I mean by that is speaking the language of fashion that connects with so many people, and probably people that you will never actually meet in real life. And being able to sort of cut through that noise and have someone go, wow, like you're speaking directly to me, is probably where you see the most successful content creators, continue to grow and thrive. And I definitely see that in the work that you do. Who would be, I guess, the ideal brand? Like if you could work with any brand around the world, is there a brand that comes to mind that would just be like icing on the cake?
Oh, I did get a little taste of, I did a recent job for YSL Beauty, which I absolutely loved. And then also Givenchy Beauty. So I would love to continue working in the designer space. That gave me like a little taste of it. And I was like, wow, this is the level that I want to continue working with. So if I could get some, beautiful designer brands, I would love to work with Fendi.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Such a great brand. In the future, I'm curious as to what success looks like for you.
That is such a good question. I think for me, continuing to step outside of my comfort zone would be a really big one. Even starting the Australian Style Institute course, like that was stepping outside of my comfort zone. I look back to, I was nervous to do something new then, and I'm like, wow, look how much that has helped you grow. So I think now, yeah, just continuing to push myself, whether that is doing another really huge course on some kind of editing skill or just more outreach, and proving to myself that you can do it, you can push yourself and get to a goal where you never thought you could, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think, yes, success is forever evolving. I don't have one certain, brand or expectation where it's like that's success, you can stop now. I just want to continue growing and being the best I can. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I've learned a little bit more about you and what it takes to be in content creation from this conversation. I'm sure our watchers will have the same viewpoint as well. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm glad.